Welcome to Channel IMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side. So once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now let's get some visa news update. Well, obviously throughout the week, the biggest news is the budget 2024 and 25. Shockingly, the government of Australia is looking to slash, well, a little bit about the permanent migration quota, but a lot has been slashed on the temporary visa holders, and that's gonna be and that includes, that basically has a bulk number of international student visa applications. Obviously that's gonna strike a lot towards the education providers. And just a couple of days, I think 2 days later after the budget, now we have seen this another news. Just give you some updates, and by the second half of this video I will provide what a little bit of the guideline. Obviously we don't have the detailed policy and regulation yet, but the overarching scope of what's gonna be like for 2024 and 25 if you want to migrate through skill migration. All right, the first thing that let's take a look at that. The opposition leader Peter Dutton pledged to slash permanent migration to 140,000 per year. Now that's a lot. Now you may notice just before the pandemic and the former government, the Liberal National government, where Peter Dutton, the current leader of the opposition, was the Minister of Home Affairs. Now back then the permanent migration numbers was 160,000. Now he pledged to cut down if he will be elected next year. So we have a general election coming up in 2025. So if Labour doesn't win and the Liberal National comes back to rule the nation of Australia, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to cut even further down. Now currently the Albanese government has set for 2024 and 25 to be at 185,000. Now he wanted to cut further 45,000 down to 140,000. I don't know how that will affect. Now that will actually how that will actually affect on the different industry level, but certainly it's a killer. Now what the government, what the Treasurer has announced, and cutting the net migration almost half down, it's already a killer for the education provider and institution around Australia, that including all the university. We already seen news article that talking about Charles Sturt University at the Sydney campus. It's only half full. That means it's half empty. That is pretty bad. Now we don't know about other universities. What about TAFEs? What about other private colleges that offers commercial cookery, offers carpentry courses, you know, all those courses, and childcare services? I don't know how they're gonna survive over the next 6 months. So this is gonna be quite dramatic, and I think the both parties of Australia is not letting loose on this topic on cutting the migration thing. Now I have something to say about this. Now obviously the issue is surrounded on what? Housing crisis, isn't it? Now wouldn't it be a solution to this is that the government, obviously the state and the federal government together, to bundle stuff together to what? To incentivize the developers who can actually go out there and build more houses, because housing crisis, wouldn't that means it's just not enough house, not enough homes? So if you incentivize the builder and the developer, and they can build and houses or apartments, units, home quicker and incentivize all these builders, wouldn't that really solve the problem? Rather than counting on migrants, when they talk about this, it's just a weird thinking how they actually direct themselves into this topic and into this realm. It's more like a scenario that, well, yes, you have a home and you have a couple people, a family living in your home, and the toilets the ground level on when you end at the end of one of the toilet. Anyway, one of the toilet is broken, okay, rather than getting a plumber to fix or replace the toilet, you basically shut the whole toilet down and say, look, just don't touch it, don't go there, go somewhere else, just squeeze to the toilet or bathrooms upstairs in the parents' main bedrooms or all other things. And rather than fixing the problem of the broken toilet, you basically shut that down and then asking all the family members to use other toilet elsewhere. I mean, does that fix the problem? No, it doesn't. It doesn't really fix the problem. You should really incentivize the developer and the builders. Wouldn't that be the real way to, find the solution to this? I don't know. I have no idea how the government has gone so far towards this way, and now even if they have already cut half of the net migration, almost half of the net migration, now the opposition leader is not happy enough. He wanted to cut further down. So I'm not too sure how this will work, and that's certainly what I can see. The economy of Australia will definitely have a major shake-up. Okay, now the next one is obviously for the education sector. They have put a bill there. Bill means legislation, a law, piece of law, which has not passed by. It needs to go on the first and second reading and the third reading. Then it will pass the parliament and it become law. So basically, the government of Australia is looking towards to have a further restriction and more regulations on the education provided by counting on them, whether it's going to be offense, and limit caps the numbers of international students they can have, and ask them to deliver the course requirement and their relationship between the agent, how much they pay their agents. Not too sure how they can actually get this done, but looks like there's a piece of law already there. So that's they're pretty serious about this. So wonder all my friends who has ownership or they work at a education institutions, how they gonna survive this period of time. Once that law passed through, it's gonna be a major change to the industry, and it's not gonna be. It will be a short-term, real earthquaking to the industry, to the sector, and really, I'm really looking about next 2 or 3 years, at least 2 or 3 years, for the industry to shape it back to what it should be. And that will mean there will be a lot of cuts on the education sector's staffings. So a lot of people will lose their jobs. And that's likely what's going to happen. We already seen the unemployment rate has already increased last month. So how will that actually go? Will that actually trigger something related to the economy? We don't know. All right. So all of that news with the budgets. What should you focus if you wanted to migrate to Australia through the skill migration? So basically, I think the main thing will focus on the employment sponsor visa, whether it's going to be the temporary skill shortage or the renamed one called skills in demand visa. So the employment sponsor visa, because they have dropped the requirement. First of all, end of last year, they have allowing all the occupation able to have a pathway to permanent residency. That's the first advantage. And the second advantage that we have received in this week's budget is that the prerequisite requirement of 2 years work experience has been dropped, will be dropped. to only 12-month work experience requirement. So that is an incentivize how people actually move. All the international student graduates will move from graduation, get 1-year job, and get an employment and move on. Now, obviously, a lot of people want to know how the point test system will actually be formed in the future. As far as we have, you may want to check out my previous video. So they will actually incentivize the partner's skills, and they will also counting on the age requirement with the more precise counting mechanism or structure, rather than I've explained this, rather than what the current one is like they'll jump through 5 years of age and differences, and they will not incentivize, they will put more fairness on the overseas work experiences, rather than having Australian work experiences is having more points toward and compared to the overseas work experiences, and something along that line there. So that will be, so what will you do? You come to Australia, you work, you study, graduate, and work for 1 year, and moving into whether or not you still get your 485 visa or moving into employment sponsor visa. And during that time, if you meet the requirement for the point test mark, obviously you move into, or you get invited into 189 visa or 190 visa, and that way you actually migrate through that way. Now, the only one thing that is still also in query is how would they actually form the new skill occupation list. Now they call core skill occupation list. Now obviously they're still in the job and skilled Australia authority, because they are still under consultation whether some of the occupations should be removed or should be included. And these occupations should be only used for the skills in demand visa, or does it use also for the new point test system? Now we don't know. And another thing is, obviously we need to wait until the new point test system is out. Then all the states and territory could actually refresh, and possibly with their innovative brains to create a new state and territory point test system then. So it's still a lot of things to come towards the end of the year. Exciting, but also not too excited, because the politics is just playing in a negative, how do I say, corresponded towards the actual migration system, how you actually move towards. But anyway, that's the reason that we created this channel, to actually make information and trends more transparent, so you can make a better options and choices for your migration or visa options. Anyway, should you have more question, query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.